Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. It's a Monday live stream. It's not just any Monday live stream. It's a long weekend Monday here in Canada. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope if you've got the day off that you're, I don't know, keeping cool. It is August. It is hot. So today, rather than get my fingers complicated with acrylic and all sorts of heavy woolly knots and stuff, I thought we'd do something a little bit different. And I'm going to get a little bit catty. I bought a set of very cheap crochet hooks a couple years ago. I found them on Amazon and I got them. I stuffed them away. I was rearranging one of the closets here in the craft room and I came upon them. So I've pulled them out, decided that I would sit down with you all and do a deep dive on these cheap hooks. Now, I can't remember exactly how much we paid for them. They're an entire set of like the steel hook size, so the smaller hooks, not the medium hook size that we usually use. So these are for like crochet thread. So I have some thread handy. We're going to try them out. But these are, I don't even think they were like $5 for the whole set. And there's 8 of them, 8 hooks. So it was cheap. They're really cute. They're super pretty. And that's why I bought them. And I only just took them out of the package about an hour ago. I gave them a little bath. I made sure they were all nice and clean and pretty for today's live stream. And I noticed a couple things while I was taking them out of their package, which I am deliciously excited about getting into talking about. So here we go. First off, I want to say thank you to Astrid with a membership milestone. Astrid's been a member for a month. So hey, Astrid, glad you're here. And Lynette with a super chat before we even got started. Thank you so much, Lynette. Mr. InStitches is in the chat. As you can see, he is moderating today as Mr. InStitches. And it is kind of me running the show, like last week. Because it's hot and we want to have as few of the big engines running in this house as possible. So it is live stream. I am here with you for an hour. We are going to talk about these little hooks. I'm going to compare them to my good hooks. I have a set of Clover Amours, the steel hook set. So they're all the pretty little, these are the Amours. They all come in a pretty little pastel. They're small and they come with an actual cap on them because the hooks themselves are so tiny. They're like ice picks. So these are a really good set. And the Clover Amour, as you know, is my bar for hooks. And the set that I got are ergonomic, technically. They're very pretty. And they're in that size category. So before I talk anymore, all of these hooks are the same. They all have the same little, I even have a little something here to show you. So they're all the same. They all have this really pretty little like, I want to say it's almost like a little tattoo. They're like a painted plastic. It's like a little golden, it's like a little golden leaf kind of drawing. There's a pretty little pink rose in the middle. Each one of them is identical. They all look like this. So they all have a pretty little, they're all like flat top, slightly rounded underneath. They all have this little pretty kind of almost like a little tattoo printed on them. It's printed plastic. So, I mean, I'm not expecting much for $5 for an entire set. And then, of course, the top of it is this really pretty purple metallic. So it's aluminum, which is good. And it's a purple metallic color. Very, very pretty. So that's what they all look like. And I'm holding up this, I have this little piece of paper that I'm going to hold up every time I kind of compare them to something else so you can see them because they are so small. I see everybody just popping in. Morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I can kind of see the chat. Don't have my glasses on. So if I don't quite see something, then forgive me. I will be putting them on a little later because I'm going to try these babies out. Okay, first of all, I want to tell you the size range that we've got. So I said I've got 8 of them. Listen to this. So that's all 8 of them in my little hands. They all have that pretty little kind of rose in the middle. There's just pretty little painted plastic, nothing fancy. And they've all got that same purple metallic aluminum. They're a tapered hook. So they've all got kind of like, they're all tapered. So they're not in line. They all tapered into the hook. And they're all flat and they've got like a rounded bottom. So in theory, like these feel pretty comfortable as ergonomic hooks go. They feel like they're fairly well anchored in that plastic, like they're not going to wiggle loose and just come out of the plastic plastic handle. And for a cheap hook, there are no seams. So right away, like, oh, there's the end. The end's got like a little plastic, like where I guess it got squeezed out of the mold. So that would have to be kind of sanded off. But I don't really touch the bottom end of my hook, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. But they're nice and smooth. There's no seams. There's no seam in the actual aluminum. So the aluminum hook itself is very nice. And I just love that purple. So aesthetically, they're quite pretty and they don't feel too bad to hold. So let's talk about the size range. I'm going to try and figure out which the biggest one is. And this is where I realized things were going a little sideways. So I've got, there's a one, I'm going to try and put them all in order so I know the largest to the smallest size. So I've got 1.5 millimeter, 1.25 millimeter. I've got a 2.5 millimeter, 2.75 millimeter. That might be the largest one. A 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter, 2.25 millimeter, and a 1.75 millimeter. Okay, so the range is 1 millimeter. So I don't have anything smaller than a millimeter. And I think my Clover Amour steel hooks go down much smaller than that. So that's one thing. And then they go up 1/4 of a millimeter after that, which I feel is kind of already a bit ridiculous because at that level, at that size, 1/4 millimeter is barely recognizable by the naked eye. And you're working with thread. So I'm not so sure that 1/4 millimeter is going to make much difference here from hook to hook, but they go 1 millimeter, 1.25, 1.5, 1.75, 2, 2.25, 2.5, 2.75. So that is the range. There's 8 of them. And there is definitely a difference in size between, I'm going to hold these up with the little blue thing again. So bear with me, everybody. So this is the smallest. This is the smallest, and the biggest is on the other side here. So this is the smallest one, and then the biggest is next to it. And I think you can see that all right. So there's a definite difference in size between the 2.75 millimeter and the 1 millimeter. So that's good. There's definitely a difference between them visually. Hi, everybody, if you're just dropping in. I think that's a good start. But I'm going to measure them to actually see if they're the right size, because looking at the rest of these hooks, they don't really look like they change much. Now, I know 1/4 of a millimeter is pretty small, but we're going to actually measure them. I heard a ding. Mr. InStitches is here, by the way. Hello, Kaylin. Kaylin, welcome to Alpaca. Thanks for rejoining. Welcome back. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for the mister. All right. I'm going to measure on the millimeter side. So I've got my measuring tape, and the way to measure a hook, I should probably show you on a bigger one, but I'll use the 2. So this one says it's 2.75 millimeter. So the hook itself, you want to measure. Usually the hook on an aluminum shaft, even a wooden one, the hook is about as wide as the shaft is. So you don't want to measure the tapered neck area. You want to measure the actual shaft or the face of the hook if you can. So if a hook's bigger, you can measure the face of the hook. And what you're doing is you're trying to measure the diameter. So you take your measuring tape, and in this case, I'm looking at the millimeter side because this is measured in millimeters. And don't drop it on the floor. It didn't break. That's a good sign. You basically hold it up and you place it in front of you. This is a slightly see-through, like I can sort of see a shadow through this measuring tape. So I can see where I line up the edge of my hook. And you line it up against, say, the 1. And then holding it as straight as you possibly can, you measure straight across from, you're eyeballing this, but from one edge to the other. And that gives you a rough estimate of the diameter of your hook. So for example, if you've got older hooks in your collection and the markings have rubbed off or the embossment has come off or something, and you don't know how big they are anymore, and you don't have one of those sizing rulers, this is a great way to kind of give you an estimation. And like I said, 1/4 of a millimeter is an unnecessary measurement, in my opinion, when it comes to something like this. So I'm holding it against the 0 and I'm measuring straight across. And I think I've got 1, 2, looks like almost 3 millimeters. So if this is the 2.75 millimeter hook, it is almost 3 millimeters across. So I'd say that is probably fairly accurate to 2.75 millimeters. So that's the biggest one. And now I'm going to measure the smallest. The smallest, when you start getting really, really tiny like this, you see the whole thing tapers. So now you actually do want to try and measure across the head of this thing, which is so small. I got to put my glasses on. So let's see if the measuring tape can even handle this. I'm going to try and measure across the face. So the face, oh my gosh, I'm going to grab this again. Let's see if you can see this. If you can see that little hook on the end, I'm not even sure. I might even need to get a little bit of, can you see that itty bitty little hook turned up there? So super small. Oh my gosh, this is so super tiny. I'm not even sure it comes through on the camera. Woo! All right, so I'm going to try and measure right across the face of this little tiny itty bitty hook. And this one is supposed to be 1 millimeter. So if I hold this against one side, you know what? It fits within the millimeter range. I think this is actually a 1 millimeter hook. That is so tiny. So yes, this is 1 millimeter. So far, the largest and the smallest suit. So now, because these all, I was looking at them going, I feel like they all look like they're basically the same size. If I compare the 1 millimeter and the 1.25 millimeter, I'm like, why even bother at this point? I'm not even sure you can see this. I'm going to hold them both together. They are so super small. They're pretty much identical. Yeah, Shelly, my old eyes can't see that. I've got my glasses on. Like, don't you? You know what should be coming next to eyeglasses? Zoom, a zoom feature. Like, you know how you can on your phone or your tablet, you can do this and, like, you know, open up the picture to zoom in or close it to sort of come back out. Our glasses need to be able to do. We should be able to go tap tap tap, zoom zoom zoom. You know, a tap tap tap. Google, somebody, come on, let's get on that. I need zooming glasses. So this one, the one that's 1.25 millimeter, looks like it might be an itty bitty, weeny little bit bigger than that, than the other one. But it's so difficult to tell. So I'm going to measure this one too. And then I'm going to measure a couple more. And I'm going to see just how accurate-ish these are. So again, at a 0.25 of a millimeter, why even bother? I feel like I'm glad I didn't spend much on this pile of hooks, but you don't need the in-betweens, in my opinion, if you're working with thread, because your own tension is going to vary a little bit anyway in the way you hold a hook. But 1 millimeter, maybe 1.5 millimeter, 2 millimeter, I think every half a millimeter would be more than enough change per size if in a hook collection this big. To be perfectly honest, I've got tons of little steel hooks, and I pretty much only ever use the 2 millimeter. Even if I'm using super tiny thread, I just can't see the hook any smaller. So what's the point, right? So if I hold this right here, oh my gosh, I can't even hold myself. So this basically looks like it fits on the actual markings of the 1 millimeter. So it very well may be 1.25 millimeter, literally a quarter of a millimeter larger than the smallest one. So, okay, great. Let's say they're all accurately sized. They are 1 millimeter, 1.25, 1.5. Is there a point to them being so close together in size? Not sure. I'm going to tell you the sizes of my Clover Moore steel hook collection. And because I feel like that makes a little bit more sense in terms of like the gaps of sizing. But I don't even use anything smaller than a 2. Does anybody use these, like a small steel hook? Does anyone go down smaller than a 2 millimeter? I'm curious. Laura says a 4 millimeter is almost too small. I know at some point you have, Thrifty's got a set she hasn't even touched. I have now 2 sets of steel hooks, and most of them I haven't even touched. I use the 2 millimeter of my Clover Amours. So I absolutely love these hooks. I love the Clover Amours. They're the bar for me. These ones are so pretty. They're all a pretty bunch of pastels, which I have to say, I love it when a hook set is all different colors, because seldom do I pick it up and go, oh, I'm looking for my 5mm. No, I want to grab the color. I know that the one I use the most is the 5.5mm, the I9. It is a solid dark green color. That is what I reach for, because I don't want to have to put my glasses on and carefully examine the hook arm of every single one of my hooks every time I reach for one. So I love that they're all different colors. The steel hook amours are all pastels. The regular medium-sized hooks, the ones that we usually use with yarn, are all like regular colors, like kind of your solid, typical rainbow colors. And then the jumbo hooks are all the neon colors. So I also love that delineation between the color sets. So you really know what you're looking for. So what have I got? So that's a 0.75, 1.25, 1mm. I'm just laying them all down on my little work surface here. 1.75. Good. 1.5. 0.9. So that's interesting. So a 1mm and then a 0.9. So there's a 0.1 of a millimeter difference between two of those hooks. That seems ridiculous to me. 0.6mm. So I've got 1mm, 0.9mm, 0.75mm, and 0.6mm. So even the Clover Amours are closer together in size than this cheap set. I have never used anything smaller than probably a 1.5mm. In fact, this set comes with a 2mm, and I use it quite a lot. So it's actually over there in my other hook collection, I'm fairly sure. Now, I love these because they all came with a little cap, and I'm going to try and hold this so you can see what I'm doing, because otherwise you'll hurt yourself when you reach into your hook stash to grab your hook. So they all come with this little lid, and this is a nice pick. This is, can you even see the hook? No, it looks like this just terminates in a point. There's barely even a hook here. Oh my gosh. So this is the tiniest one I've got, 0.6 of a millimeter. And even with my glasses on, if I hold my hand in front of that, oh my gosh, that is small. I need a microscope to crochet with this thing. Now, I do have one of those jeweler things where it's got like the big magnifying glass and the clamps so that you can like hold something while you're working on it. I've never used it for crochet because it's kind of close to the work surface. And I think my mother-in-law, Mama InStitches, I think she's got one of those big ones that sits around your neck for embroidery. I might be getting one of those in the future, especially if I want to use something like this. This is so small, I could practically floss with it. Don't advise. Okay, so 0.6 of a millimeter. I think you're crocheting with sewing thread at this point with a hook this small. Oh my gosh, look who's here. Ronald and Kathy Jones in the house. Hey, cousins. With a super chat. What have they got to say? Hello, cousins. We just love to start our week with you both. Thank you. You both are our favorite video stars. Thank you so much for being so sweet and very entertaining. It's so refreshing. Love you both, Kathy and Ron. Thank you. Thank you both, Kathy and Ron. Thank you so much for being here and for the super chat. Thank you. It's nice to start a Monday with the Crafty group. I always feel kind of invigorated after we do a live stream with you guys, because especially in this sort of setup, I know I'm talking a lot to the camera and I'm trying to kind of explain these hooks to you guys, but when I look into the chat and I kind of see the chattering, I love that. And then usually I go back and I look through the chat at the end of a live stream so I can see, what's going on and who said what. If I have the time, I love to do that. If there's something important that you wanted to ask or sort of say, make sure you also leave it in the comment section down below, because I definitely see the comments on videos, but I don't always get to see the whole live stream. What do you call that when transcript? I don't always get to see the whole transcript from the live stream, but thank you. Okay, so just a quick quick pop, a quick pop, not a poop. I am not pooping in the live stream. Good grief. I wanted to pop into the chat. Astra says, I found a 4.25 Clover Amour hook and was so excited that I didn't pay attention. The hook is plastic and squeaks. Oh no. Really? Is it really a Clover Amour if it's plastic? I thought all the Amours were specifically that kind of rubbery grip, the ergonomic grip with the aluminum shaft. I have 4.25 because I love that hook size for amigurumi. I have that in a vast array of different hook styles. I've got them in plastic, bamboo. I have them in aluminum without an ergonomic grip, and I've got them with ergonomic grip. I think I have more 4.25 millimeter hooks than any other hook in my collection because I use that one so much for amigurumi. And I like to have as I was advancing in my career of crochet, I found that having the ergonomic handle was better. And then sometimes I found that I just wanted to go back to having the bamboo handle. It depends on the kind of work I'm doing. Sometimes as nice as the ergonomic handle is, it can almost feel like it's in the way sometimes when you're doing something really small. Antoinette's wondering where she can buy these hooks. So the Amours, the Clover Amours, the pretty ones with all the pastel colors, I got them on Amazon a few years ago, but I know they're still there because I see them regularly. And I think we've got links for those. The new ones, these cheap little plastic purpley ones, this is aluminum, this is plastic. I also found these on Amazon. I have no idea if they're still there though, because it was a couple years ago now that I got the set. Like I said, I got it and I kind of tucked away in a drawer and I completely forgot all about it until I recently came across them. And I thought, oh, we have to break these out and give them a try. So far, but they were cheap. They were very cheap. Now they're the steel hooks. So if you're looking for the steel hook size, I don't even think I knew when I bought them what the sizes were. I think I just saw a pretty set of crochet hooks for like $5 or something. And I thought, oh, I'm going to get them. So as pretty as these are, and as nice as they feel in my hand, I'm probably not going to use them. Or maybe I might use the 2.75 millimeter. But I'm probably not going to use most of the hooks in the set because they're so tiny and I just don't typically do thread work of that size. But let's give them a try. So, little sip of my coffee. I've got some crochet thread here. And I have to say, I am kind of pleased that there's a 2.75 millimeter because that's a relatively decent sized hook. That's almost like a 3. Ding. Crochet and coffee. Oh, exactly. Crochet and coffee. Member for 20 months. Thank you so much for the membership milestone. Says, I love your show and I love everything that you do. Keep up the great work and blessed be. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad you guys are here. I'm glad that this is I know this is appealing. I could watch somebody talk about hooks for like hours. I don't know. I guess because when you love something, you're like, and. I think
I found the larger version of those same hooks.
Really? Mr. InStitches, just
small ones like yours, and then there's a larger.
Really? How much are they?
$9.44 Canadian.
$10 Canadian for a regular size set.
Are $8.34 Canadian.
Oh, the small ones are $8.34 Canadian. So that's like $5 American about now.
Right, a little over.
Ish. Yeah. If you've got links for those, honey, you want to put them in the.
Well, I'm not sure they're the exact same, but I'll link them.
Yeah. Okay. Just to update you all, Mr. InStitches finally got his new computer and he is in the process of setting it all up and getting the rig going. And as excited as we are about the new computer and it being in our recently redone office space, now we've got an issue with like cords. So I am talking to you from the craft room and Mr. InStitches is next door in the office with the new machine and we haven't got the two connected yet, so that's why you're stuck with me. And he's in there as Mr. InStitches. So he is here. He's just he's still working in the new rig. So excited about that. And nice progression moving forward. Always good, but it always takes a little bit of time. But he does have Amazon pulled up, so he's able to see these things. So there's the two sets. There's the set that I have, which is the small steel hook, and now he's telling me there's a regular size hook set, which I might have to get. Yes, you should. Okay, I have got some crochet thread with me. I've got some size 3 or 5. I think this is 3 weight. This is all cotton stuff. So the size 3 weight crochet thread is my absolute favorite weight category of crochet thread to work with because I can still see it. It doesn't feel so small that it slips through my fingers, but it's not so big and thick that it feels like a sock weight yarn. So it's smaller than a sock weight yarn. And I love it for wearables. So I love it to make pretty little collars and chokers, jewelry, anything like that. I do like crochet thread, the smaller ones. I also have a few of those like this. This is a size 10. I have an 80, a size 80, and the bigger the number in crochet thread, the tinier it is, the smaller the number, the bigger the number. Okay, I'm making that confusing. The bigger the number, like 80, the smaller the thread weight. The smaller the number, like 1, the bigger the thread weight. So it kind of goes in the opposite direction of the yarn scale. So with yarn, the bigger the number, the thicker the weight category. With crochet thread, the bigger the number, the skinnier the weight category. So I've got 2 10s. I think these are both 10s. And I've got 3 10s and 2 3s in the crochet thread category just to play with today. I do have an 80 crochet thread, but it's like sewing thread, and I can barely see that, so I will not be experimenting with that. But I do have some of this lovely size 3. 3 weight. I've got my crochet bowl, so I've got it so I can roll around in my lap here. So this is the 2.5 millimeter. 2.5. It goes up to 2. Oh no, there's my 2.75. I put it down the other side. I'm like 2.75. So this is the largest hook in that cheap little hook series. I think Mr. InStitches may have found the link. He's going to include it. And everybody, hi. If you're just popping in, hello. So I'm going to try a little bit of crochet with this hook. Like I said, aesthetically, I like the way it looks. I like the way it feels. It doesn't feel like it's got a wiggly neck. And you got to be careful with cheap sets, especially, you know, I know $5 doesn't seem like much for a set of 8, but if I'm only going to use 1 or 2 of them, that's still a good price. But what if they break? What if they snap? What if they, come out of the handle? So you got to, you don't want to just throw your money around. But I thought because this was a couple years ago now and I got this, well, I'm finally trying them out. So I'm just going to do, I don't know, I think I'll do a little granny square. I'm going to try one of those new mesh granny squares from Friday. So I'm going to just chain 5, get her going. Start with a regular old little granny square row 1. So chain 3, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, etc. And I'm using that size 3 weight. So, wow, what a surprise. That is quite comfortable. This is not a bad hook. So the neck isn't so long that I can't function with it. Like I tried that Prim ergonomic hook several weeks ago, and the neck was just too long. This has a nice neck on it. Looking at that pretty purple aluminum flashing through that white cotton is quite pleasing. It's comfortable to hold. There's no burrs, just that little one at the end, but that can be sanded off. And because it's flat on the top, but kind of rounded on the bottom, it rolls around in my hand quite nicely. Again, I've got a knife grip, so that's something to keep in mind. You might find that comfortable if you're a pencil grip too. Okay, so first row complete. I will get my little board so you can see it. Your typical granny row 1. Should try and get my hook out of the way. Actually, it's kind of look nice.
So for the record, I'm putting the links in, but I'm not 100% sure they are identical, but they do look the same.
Okay. All right. I'm trying my best to hold this. Okay. There we go. So that is a size 3 weight cotton thread with the 2.75 millimeter hook, which I will definitely be using. This might just become part of my travel kit because it is actually comfortable. It doesn't feel wiggly or loose. Hey, not bad for a cheap hook. I'm pleased and impressed. Okay, I'm going to try a little bit of that mesh stitch. So I'm going to double crochet. Actually, I'm going to chain 4. That counts as double crochet, chain 1. Skip a stitch, double crochet, chain 1 in the next stitch. You guys know the drill if you watched our video on Friday. Anybody here who did the mesh granny from Friday, what do you think? Oh my goodness. Thank you. Hang on. I'm going to see who that was. Thank you. And Caroline's been a member for 48 months. Thank you, Caroline. With a membership milestones is my intro to steel hooks was filet crochet. No kidding. Yeah, that is a great intro to using thread because all you have to think about is just double crochets and chain ones, double crochets and chain ones. And it's a lot better than like anything super complicated like a doily. Doilies are gorgeous, but they can use all the stitches. Although I will say if you struggle with the tall stitches like treble crochets, then you might like using a steel hook and thread because the tall stitches aren't tall when you're working small. All right, I'm getting carried away here. Let me go pop into the shop and see who that was so I can say thank you. Doodly doo. Gloria. Thank you so much for picking up a pattern. It works. Okay. Thank you, Gloria. Now I feel comfortable enough to not have to bother with, should I grab my stitch markers? Maybe I should. This is pretty small, but are they going to be too cumbersome? They might be too cumbersome. Okay. Let's just get, oh, so there's row 2. I'm going to lay it down flat, pull it out. Right away, oh my gosh. So just to interrupt myself, like I do that constantly, interrupt myself from the talking about the crochet hooks, the mesh stitch with the size 3 fashion weight crochet thread, absolutely, this would be such a pretty top. Some of these, you know, that top I was wearing, I actually have it. I have it here. It's going to sort of talk about it a little bit. So mesh, just a simple mesh, that summer mesh granny we did on Friday. If you're doing it, try and hold it so that you can see it a little better. I am so sorry. Sort of doing this backwards to myself, but there you go. This would be a great square for that halter top I was wearing last Monday, which I actually have over here. I brought it with me because I had to answer a question. So this might be better to show it to you guys. So a lot of you asked about it last week, the halter top that I was wearing. So like I said, it's 5 granny squares. That's the back. There's another one. That's the one in the middle. These are the 2 that kind of connect to the shoulder straps. So it's a zigzag. You put them together in a zigzag. You only need 5 of them. And like I said last week, you make one square that kind of covers off one breast nicely so that like you don't feel like you've got too much of a gap here. And then they should meet in the middle. And I made, I don't know, how big are these? I will measure. I'm typically like a small medium when it comes to a top. They're a 5-inch granny. So they're not even that big. Maybe that's 6 inches. They're a 6-inch granny. So I made 5 6-inch granny squares. And I've just hooked up my hook. 5 6-inch granny squares that fit me. I'm a small medium. So if you're going to go medium, large, maybe 6.5 inches each, large, 7 inches each, just go up a half an inch each time for whatever, but because we're all very different, I always hesitate to talk about sizing because sizes change literally from one store to the next. So I'm much more interested in specific measurements, and measurements are great, but we're not all shaped the same. Some of us have like more power up top. Some of us our girth is in the middle. We're all built a little different, and our weight distributes like differently depending on like a million different things, what we do for a living, like all of it, right? So like for example, if you work in a salon, you've got power through here. When Mr. InStitches and I used to be landscapers an eon ago, and I did a lot of trimming. Well, I was so powerful up through my shoulder area that my little summer dresses didn't fit me anymore. And it wasn't until I stopped doing all of that big upper body lifting that my summer dresses started to fit normally. These are the ones that zip up the back. They started to fit normally again because I lost all my power through here. But everything fit funny for a while. My weight didn't change. My sizing didn't change, but the way everything was distributed did. So that's why I say I'm hesitant to sort of say, oh, if you're a size L, you want to, no. You want to do haute couture, made on the body clothing. If you can crochet or sew and you're making yourself clothes, you make it to fit you. That is the beauty of having these skills. So in a case of this halter top, you want to make one square based on those measurements. So mine were 6 inches. 6 inches might work for you. 6 inches might not work for you if you are petite, but you've got, a nice bosom. Then you might want to make them a little bigger. What you're looking for, first of all, is a square that when it's in a diamond configuration fits comfortably over one of your breasts. Make 2 and then make sure they fit and meet nicely in the middle. Remember, you can add borders. There's a lot of play with a pattern like this. And then make 3 more because you want 5 squares. If you're going to use size 3 crochet weight yarn or thread, which I recommend, I'm thinking the mesh stitch would be really, really cool. Simple, fast, and then you can sort of try one on and go, yeah, no, my next one, I might make the squares a little bigger or a little smaller. Or I might add a little bit border. Just saying, that would make a great halter top square. I heard the ding, Mr. Bethany. Hi, Bethany. Bethany's been a member for 65 months. Holy cow. Thank you, Bethany, with the membership milestone. Says, good morning from me and Lil C. We are excited as always to hang out with you guys this morning. Hi, guys. Hoping everyone is having a great week. I get more crochet time in my schedule. Yay! LOL, love you guys. Thank you. It's a holiday Monday here for us. So Canada, we've got it's our civic holiday long weekend. So it's supposedly like the first weekend in August. We're summer, I guess it's what we call the kind of the midway August, the midway long weekend. We get a long weekend at the beginning of July for Canada Day. We get the civic holiday weekend, which is usually the first weekend in August. And then I think we all get the Labor Day weekend, even in the States, you guys get the Labor Day weekend, which is like the first weekend in September, thereabouts. So that's nice. It's nice to have some long weekends in the nice weather because we certainly don't have a lot of opportunity to enjoy the nice weather up here. I always feel like you get maybe 12 nice weekends, really nice weather weekends a year, 12, because that's like June through. Now, September can be nice. October can be very nice. But, you can kind of count on 12 and they go by so quick. So it's nice to have a few long ones. Anyway, so that is the mesh granny. I feel like that would be so much fun to whip up 5 of those. And using the size 3 fashion weight crochet thread would be easy and quick. And I'm using the 2.75 millimeter hook. So that pairs very nicely with the size 3 crochet thread. I like the way that looks. I'm just going to make a few more rows because why not? And I like this hook. Now, Mr. InStitches thinks he may have found the original, maybe not the original, but definitely something that looks like it. I'm sure that they might even have like slightly different images on the handle. But they're going to probably be the same-ish. Eh, mister?
Can you hold the pattern up to the camera?
Yes, I can. Hang on. Boy, when I get going, I just want to keep going. All right. So, yes, very addicted. I'm going to make sure I'm holding this correctly so that everybody can see it properly. There. So, ba-bum.
Closer.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and in the center.
I'm going to try.
Okay, it needs to focus. Twist a bit.
Don't tell me to twist and then not tell me what direction.
Yes, that's them.
That is them.
Yeah.
Perfect. And it's a purple aluminum. So I originally grabbed them because I saw the purple aluminum and I'm like, ooh, I love aluminum that is different colored. And I thought it was a pretty little like embossment, that little bit of rose. But what's the name of it?
Well,
can you pronounce it?
Really have, they're just called
like
crochet hook set, aluminum knitting needles, floral print. Like there's no brand.
Floral print. Yeah, there's no brand. Just a floral print. Okay. Well, if they're the ones, excuse me, if they're the ones that I got originally, and there probably are, I'm sure they've just been making the same set over and over again. As far as a cheap set goes, I can recommend these. I think I'm going to get the bigger set.
I'm seeing them sold by different people.
Mm-hmm,
so they're obviously like, they probably come in a huge box.
Yeah.
Well, there's no brand.
There's no brand. I would get the regular set too, because these are actually not too bad to handle, especially given like you don't expect much from a cheap hook. So it's really nice to be pleasantly surprised. Like these feel quite comfortable. I mean, you're not gonna maybe crochet as long as you could with a Clover Amour because of the Amour grip is just a little bit better. But this isn't terrible. It's not terrible. I actually, the second I said that, I started to feel a little something down through here. But so let me just compare the actual grips. So this is, the pretty pink is the Clover Amour, obviously. And then let me just see if I can hold these so that you can see them. So we're not worrying too much about the actual aluminum shaft at the moment. I'm going to try and hold these in a way that you can see them. Wow, this is so much more difficult than it should be. You know what? I'll just do this. There we go. Okay. So you can see right away that there is a definite shaping difference between these two hooks. So the cheap one with the pretty little embossment on it is all one kind of tapering plastic handle. I'm going to spin it a little bit. It's flat on top. It's a little rounded on the back. But the Clover Amour has that little narrow back end that fits comfortably in your hand. It's got a flat grip.
Barbara ordered the.
All right. Woohoo! Barbara, you're going to have to let me know what you think. Delivery tomorrow. Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. So the Clover Amour has the flat thumb deck. It's a little bit fat and rounded underneath it, which just feels so comfortable in the hand. And then the skinnier back end of the hook kind of rolls comfortably in your hand. But these ones, they're not bad, I have to say. And they're pretty. And I love that purple. I like looking, when I'm working with a lighter crochet thread, which I typically am. I do have black. I have made some black things. I don't use black as much, but if I am using a white crochet thread, which is usually the color I'm using because that's what I have the most of, it is really nice to see a dark but shiny purple shaft through it. It does actually help you focus a little bit and sort of see what you're working with. So that's kind of great. I like it. I'm going to finish this row because now I'm into it and I have to. I'm thinking that the mesh stitch, so I mentioned this in the mesh stitch granny square video on Friday, that I feel like this particular pattern would be really awesome for a summer top. We do have another mesh stitch granny square, and I differentiated between the original mesh stitch and the summer mesh. And I was saying in the video that I felt like this one might have slightly different applications than the first one. And the more I worked with this particular pattern, the more I started to think that I would prefer the original mesh granny square tutorial for like bags, beach bags, market bags, anything that really needs a lot of extra stretch, but the spaces in between the stitches don't matter how big they are. So I think the original mesh stitch granny square we have is good for bags, gym bags, anything that needs to stretch out, stuff like that. Laundry bags, if you need to make yourself a laundry bag to put like delicates in the washing machine. And the summer mesh, this one is definitely better for wearables. It's just got a little bit more structure. The spaces are one chain smaller in between all the double crochets. And there just seems to be a little bit more strength because of that. And it's less stretchy. Still a little stretchy, but it's less stretchy and it's a little more covering, just a little bit. So I think if you were going to make yourself a summer top or like one of those little halters that you were going to wear over a tank top or a little summer dress or something, not only would they be super fast to whip up 5 of these squares, and you can make them as many rows or as few rows as you want. It's one of those ever expanding, ever small, like that's 3 rows. I could finish it there. I could also make it 20 rows. You can change the shaping and the size of this as quickly as you want. So like add a row, try it on, add a row, try it on, add a row, try it on. Get a size in this square. It'll be fast because the rows go by so quickly that you feel is like, okay, yeah, that's a good size. And then you'll be able to whip up 4 more so quickly. And it'll be a really attractive looking halter because it's going to be all of the squares sit in a diamond configuration. I think that would be really cool. So yeah, if you want to try crochet thread size 3, that works. The other thing I would recommend, because I did the original one I did with this, I held 3 strands of a size 10 weight thread together, which makes for a very cool feeling granny square, but it was a bit of a bummer to crochet with because those 3 strands kind of want to cut into your finger a little bit. So I recommend the 3 weight category thread like this, which is also known as fashion thread. I think it also can be 5 weight, 3 5 weight, or a regular size 4 or 3 lightweight 100% cotton yarn. That's the sizing I would recommend for that kind of a project. Plus it's cool still. Joanna says, what's the difference between crochet thread number 3 or number 10? The bigger the number in crochet thread, so the bigger the number, the skinnier the yarn. So for example, this is a 3 weight. That's a 3 weight. I'm going to actually dangle these in front of the card as well. So 3 weight is on this side of the card, and the 10 weight will be on this side of the card. I'm going to hang them both over the edge. There we go. So I'm going to come close to the camera, as close as I can without dropping anything. So this one here is the 10 weight. This one is the 3 weight. And it's not necessarily super easy to see, but this 3 weight is much thicker than the 10 weight. Okay, good. So the 10 weight is thin. Now it's not like an 80 weight, which is like sewing thread. That's that skinny. But the 3 weight is just easier to see. It's a little easier to manipulate with your fingers. And if you're getting into thread, any kind of thread project, doilies even, I recommend starting with the fashion weight category and then working your way down to the skinnier thread counts, like the 10s, the 80s. Somebody told me they had like what was the largest thread? I can't think of what the lightest, I don't know what number it comes in at, and it might differ depending on the maker and the country, but some crochet threads are so fine. They're like silk threads. They're just crazy, crazy fine. I don't know how anybody crochets or knits with them. But if you're getting into thread or doilies or working with crochet thread, and you've really only seen this stuff, which is like the typical spool of a 10 weight or an 80 weight, and you think, I can't see it. I can't deal with it. It's going to take too long. It's too small. It's too difficult to hold the tiny little hook in I agree. Don't maybe start with the size 10 or the larger numbers in the thread count. Start with a 3 or a 5, because it's essentially like dealing with a sock weight size 1 yarn. It's really not that much different in weight category from that. You can still feel it. You can still maneuver it between your fingers without too much trouble. If you hold your yarn like me, where you're literally using those 2 middle fingers for your tension, you can still grab it. If I'm trying to use, like, I don't really change how I hold my thread. So if I'm trying to crochet, this just wants to slip right through it. It's so skinny. So if you're just starting out with thread, the weight category 3 or 5, also known as fashion weight crochet thread, I use a lot of Aunt Lydia. I know it's the one we have most access to here, but it's also like my favorite. It's mercerized. It's 100% cotton. The quality is really excellent. Southern Made, I think, is another one that's really good. They might even be the same manufacturer. I don't really know. I don't pay attention to that closely, but I've used both. I have them both in my collection. They're both really good. And it's not difficult to work with. So if you're going to venture into the world of crochet thread and smaller hooks, then I recommend the 3 or 5 weight thread. And if you're going to make yourself a halter, that's a good place to start, because then you can sort of say you made yourself and there's just something about crochet thread that makes things look really fancy or nice. I'm not even sure how to properly put that into words, but this, yes. Can I even see it? Kathy, question. When measuring the diamond square against a person's chest, how far should the corners extend? So I recommend that the first one you start with, when it's on an angle, on a diamond, one of the corners should come right to the middle, And then the actual middle of the square should be somewhere over the target. The target of the breast, right in the very middle, and then the actual corner of it should come to the middle. So it should, your two corners of your two squares are meeting right in the middle. That said, I want you to remember that the back is open on this thing. So your squares don't actually have to meet in the back because they have a string on them. They tie. The whole back of this halter is open, which is another reason that it's very flexible. So for example, that's one of my squares. And if I just put my little string up here, this fits right in the middle. And then this one, it's quite big actually, but I went with 6 inches because I wanted to have a little bit of, like I wanted a little bit of a plunging neckline, but not too much. Also, if you are feeling a little more modest, or if you've got, you're worried about bending over and tumbling out, because some of us do, you can also put in a little modesty panel here that you would put in afterwards. Very flexible pattern. I also added a border after I'd stitched all of my squares together. I added just a little bit of that, one of those little petal style borders that I love so much because it's kind of cute and feminine. Because it's strings, you can tie it a little tighter, you can tie it a little looser. You can also adjust the strings on the back. So once again, I'm just going to hold it. So you can see those 5, and they all fit together in a zigzag. I will draw up a little diagram, which I will post in the community tab a little later. I think we're going to make one of these because a lot of people asked. So I will do a tutorial on construction. So I'm going to explain, I'll have the diagram put together. We'll put that in the community tab for you guys so you can see it. You can understand the construction of it. We'll do a tutorial, proper tutorial on the construction of it, where you put your strings, measurements to keep in mind, little tricks. It is a very flexible pattern. So if you're new to making tops for yourself or for someone else, and the idea of a halter top, or you've seen pretty crochet halter tops where they start like, with making a triangle for the bosom and everything. If that really freaks you out, start with this one, because this is almost idiot proof. It is so easy to change the size of the square. As you know, granny squares are the best. You can use any granny square pattern you like. So if there's one that you like, maybe the more solid center, maybe you want it a little more lacy, you want to start with a circle, you want to start with a square, you can start with anything you want. These ones started with a circle. This is a circle centered granny square. We have a circle centered granny square that's a 5-incher. It's a 5-inch square that you can continually add more rows of the regular shell stitch to. So that's all I did. I used the circle centered granny square. Mister, can you find that, honey? I'm thinking, I don't know if it's circle centered or if it was like 5-inch or
the one with the polka dot?
Nope. That's the polka dot square. It's
the one with,
it's like
18 yards.
Yeah, that one.
Center.
That one. Okay. So Mr. InStitches is going to link the granny square that I used for this, the base of it. And then you just keep adding the regular granny shell stitch to make it larger. So it starts with a pretty wagon wheel kind of concept, a circular wagon wheel. It turns into a square. And then if you need it bigger, you just keep adding that phenomenal granny shell stitch to it. If you don't want to use the shell stitch, you can transfer back to solid double crochet. So you are just putting a solid double crochet in every single stitch and chain 1 space, and your corners are still the same. For the solid double crochet, you switch from shell, chain 2, shell to 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. That's only if you're going solid double crochet. I'll link all those important tutorials in the description box. But that's how you alter that pattern square to make it the size you need it to be. It doesn't have to be that difficult. You can make it crazy colors. You can make it all white like this. So you can use any granny square you want. You just need to worry about sizing, and all you need to do is make one that you feel fits. So when the corner, when it's on its corner, diamond configuration, and that middle or that corner edge fits right smack in the middle, right where, what is that, bone? What's that bone called in your chest in the middle? Nurses, anybody in the chat? I forget what that bone is, but it's like your sternum, You want to feel that right on your sternum, right in the middle. And then the center of the square should be over target.
Kevin would like to know if you would say that's a beginner-friendly.
Sternum. Thanks, guys. Yes, this is absolutely a beginner-friendly top because it is granny squares. They are utterly adjustable. You just want to perfect one. That's the longest part of this project, getting one that you know fits properly. Then you make 4 more identical to it. So that's easy peasy. And then you're just you're stitching them together in a zigzag configuration. So diamond number 1 gets, so this is the one that hangs down below the sternum over the solar plexus. Breast 1, breast 2, and then back 1, back 2. So it's in a zigzag format. I will post a diagram in the community tab later this afternoon once I sketch one up. So you can get started on it, and I'll give you just some hints, and then I'll do a tutorial so that you guys can figure that out. Where to put the straps, adding borders. It's really comes down to like, what do you feel like? Oh, I think the whole thing needs to be bigger. Add a little bit of a deeper border. Oh, I don't think I need a border at all. Don't bother with a border. Oh, I just want it to look cute and pretty and lacy. Add a little fluffery border. Oh, I only want border along the bottom. I want fringe. Add fringe to the bottom. This is one of those like just go nuts kind of patterns. It's based on the granny square, so it's literally impossible to mess up. Literally impossible to mess up. And the back is open. So you can tighten it with the straps around your neck, around your back. You can loosen it. If you end up with squares that are so big they actually meet in the back, that's okay too. If you don't want a strap, you can put a button in the back if they actually meet and overlap. So there is every kind of way to adjust this top. And the top's always halter. You just sort of have 2 strings hanging off the top points. So breast 1, breast 2, the halter straps go off the top point of diamond breast 1, diamond breast 2. Easy peasy. You're going to love it, I swear. And it's a fast, easy make. If you've got like some cotton left over, like if you've got one of those Karen cotton cakes, like this one, you can make the entire thing out of 1 Karen cotton cake. If you're small, medium, large, probably even extra large, because there's quite a lot of yarn in one of these cotton cakes, especially if you're using like a mesh stitch granny. If you're using a mesh stitch granny versus a regular stitch granny, you've just doubled your capacity to make an entire top out of one of these balls, because the mesh stitch takes up about 1/3 less yarn, maybe even a half amount of yarn that a regular granny square does with the shell stitch or even the solid double crochet square. So yeah, so this, once again, this kind of went sideways, but I'm going to read a couple of, everybody's still here. Okay, good. I like the granny square you taught, the one with the spokes. Yeah, that's the little 5, Joanna. That's the one I think Mr. InStitches just linked. It's, I think we called it only 18 yards or something. It starts with a circle, and then you can just infinitely make it larger by repeating the shell stitch border. You get one more sort of shell per side, or 4 shells per row. It just upsizes like a regular old granny at that point. Or you can switch to solid double crochet if you want something a little more solid. So that is like the perfect square to use for the halter pattern. And then once you get comfortable with the pattern, you can kind of branch out and try different kinds of grannies, like the super. I'd like to see one. I'd like to actually try one using the Jacob's Ladder granny square that we used back in, I think it was March, for this year's calendar blanket, because I love the braiding effect, and I just think that would look extra cool. Maybe done in like a rich brown, or I feel like it might start to take on almost like a leather kind of look with the braids of the Jacob's Ladder. So I think that would look really cool. But yeah, you can use any granny square you want. I recommend starting with a simple one that you don't have to think too much about, so that you can focus more on construction, which isn't difficult. Focus more on adding borders and straps and, things that you want, where you want little extra goodies if you want to. And it's an easily upsizable square, and you need to make 5 that are identical. So start with an easy square, make 5 that are identical based on the measurements and do it to self to fit. If it's for a little girl, so if you're making one of these halters for somebody who hasn't hit puberty yet and they're still kind of flat as a board and you don't have to worry about all the excessive shaping up top, all you really need is, oh, goodness me. All you need is the circumference, the chest circumference, and then you would divide that by 4. And a quarter of that chest circumference is the measurement between corners. So from corner to corner in diamond configuration, 1/4 of the chest circumference. If it's a little smaller, that's fine, because remember, you're tying the back and the back corners don't actually need to touch. It's, it's fine if they don't. So 1/4 or less of that circumference measurement for little girls. And you can add fringe to the bottom if you want. It's a super cute little thing. And again, they can wear it over little sundresses and stuff. So it's just such a cute pattern. It's cute for any age. Roseanne, thank you, Roseanne. Thank you so much for picking up a pattern. Really appreciate that. So yes, to sum up, the cheap little hooks, they're a good buy. This little set of 8, and I'm going to guess that I don't know for a fact, but I'm going to get the regular sized set now that I've used the smaller set. Even if I only ever use the larger parts, like the 2.75 millimeter or the 2.5 millimeter, they're fine. They're good. They're not loose. They're a decent little hook. They're cheap. And it's nice to have a cheap hook that works. They're going in my travel case. So I've got 2 small ones now for thread work in my travel kit. So recommend. We'll make sure we've got the links in the description box too, the affiliate links. And if the affiliate link doesn't work for you, because we're Canadian, we have a Canadian link. And if the link doesn't work for you, first of all, it might work. It'll take you to Canada's Amazon. Just switch it to the US Amazon and it might still, it'll either transfer you to the version that is good for America, or pull up Amazon and just type in, once you've moved to America, if it doesn't transfer over, just Google or in Amazon search, copy and paste the name of the thing. So before you leave, take a copy of the title of the hooks and just paste it into the Amazon search and it'll come up.
Sandra would like to see your bottom right, you have a pretty coral flower with a white center.
Oh, that's our spring flower doily. We have a tutorial for that, and we have a tutorial for that using thread. We did that earlier, I think this year or last year. I made a whole pile of these because I love them. They're like a nice doily. They're not so big that they're what I would consider like a placemat size, but they're really pretty if you're having tea and you're using your sandwich plates or your tea plates, your tea cups. These are they're like a smaller placemat. I don't know if you're into table setting. I'm kind of into table setting. So yes, I have a whole bunch of these. But that is a spring flower doily. I also made a granny square based on this. We have a pattern for that in our Etsy shop. We have a pattern for this in our Etsy shop. And this one looks really cool, just done in thread. We did a tutorial. We have a live tutorial on this from way back. Then we did a regular tutorial using the same pattern, but we sized it down using thread, just so you can see how it looks just by changing your hook and yarn weight category. And it's not a difficult pattern. It's actually quite simple. So it's one of those like, oh, that looks hard. It's deceptively simple. This last row with this whole nifty shaping of the petal, it's all done in one row. Like you're chaining, you're doing a double crochet, or maybe that's the treble crochet, 6 stitches together. It's just, you're using up a lot of the real estate on your hook neck. That's it. But once you get the hang of it, it's really not that difficult. So we'll make sure that's linked too in the description box. Okay, so recommend the cheap hooks. If you can get a set for $5 US, it's worth your while. Even if you don't use them all, there's a couple there that are like you might actually use. They're actually not that bad. My favorite things about them, other than them being pretty, is that purple aluminum. I can see my white thread stitches a lot better because I'm looking at a darker purple shaft. So that's actually a plus in my opinion. I am going to create a halter top granny square halter top diagram for everyone. I'll post that in the community tab a little later this afternoon. And then that will be the precursor to an upcoming tutorial. I'm going to create a tutorial that explains construction. So we've got 100 million granny square tutorials at this point. So you can pick whichever one you want. And I will just basically do a tutorial on layout, construction, adding borders, adding straps. So you can make one to fit anybody you want. Because it is just such a cute little top. You can wear them over over clothing. They look really cute over like a bathing suit or a bikini if you're brave like that. And if you make them if you make them really, really lacy and you want to wear them as just a top on its own, then you can line it with a plain white quilting cotton. And you would line it like we lined, you only need to line those 2 squares. I'm going to see who that was in a moment. You only need to line the 2 squares that cover the breast. You don't have to line the bottom one or the bottom 2 in the back. So you just need to cover those 2, and you can line them before you even stitch them together. And you would use the same tutorial that we did for lining the scarf or lining the wall hanging. You're just creating little linings for those 2 bosom squares, and you only need to line those 2. And then you can wear that thing without wearing anything underneath it at all. Woo, that's cool and breezy. Ding, Victoria, member for 8 months. Hey, Victoria, thank you for the membership milestone. It says, good morning, Jayda and Mr. Stitches from Edgewood, Washington. Here visiting my sister. WA is Washington, right? I've got that right? And hello, sister. Thank you so much for being here. That's nice. On a little bit of a break or a vacation. I just popping into the shop. I want to thank Marty. Hey, Marty. Marty picked up the Granny Square game. Thank you so much, Marty. All right, I'm going to call it there. I'm going to go make sure that the appropriate links are in the description box for today's live, including links to find those cheap hooks, which are actually pretty decent. We'll also include the Clover and Moore steel hook set and the regular hook set that I use, because those are my absolute favorites. So if you're looking to spend a little bit of money on yourself and you're looking for a new hook set, I cannot recommend the Clover and Moores enough. If you're looking for a cheap set, these are actually all right. I like them. And I will also put together that little diagram for you guys for the Granny Square halter top. Obviously, we've got a tutorial coming on that soon because everybody was asking. So we will explain how to put one of those together in an upcoming tutorial. Mr. Stitches, ding. Oh, Crochet with Diane, member for 46 months. Thank you, Diane. With a membership milestone says, love Jayda and Stitches. Thank you. We love you guys. We wouldn't be here without you. So I hope today was entertaining. At the very least, if you're on vacation or you have a holiday day like we do, hope the rest of it is lovely. Stay cool and breezy. It is kind of hot out there. That's why we just thought we would talk crochet hooks today as opposed to getting fully into something meaty. Who is that? Who is that? Goodness gracious. Thank you, whoever that was. I will check and see. Joyce! Thank you. Joyce picked up the little the spring flower doily. This thing. It's very easy, very pretty. Really recommend. Because I've made tons of them. I love them. I decorate with them in the craft room sometimes. I like to use them as a doily to sit other things on, like pots and photo frames, stuff like that. They're just like the right size, they're not too small like a mug doily, and they're not too big like a placemat. Kind of that. You need an in-between size doilies. Anyway, I'm going to make sure that diagram in the community for you guys later. That will precede an upcoming tutorial. We'll see how quickly we can get to that. Wanted to keep it cool and light today. So enjoy the rest of your week. And we will see you Friday for a tutorial. And then, warning, we're actually going to take our summer break this year, meaning we will not be uploading for a couple weeks between August the 12th and then that week and then the week after that. We're taking 2 weeks away from uploading. So we'll still be at the shop, but we're taking a break from the channel. We usually do that every summer. We didn't do it last year. And we usually take Christmas, and we didn't do that last year either. It was just sort of a crazy busy year, but we are definitely doing it this year. I've been sick. I'm still kind of recovering. So I really want to take a couple weeks to just calm down and get 100% better, because the fall is when I want to just crochet constantly. So I need all my energy. And I also am going to take those 2 weeks to really, really get the order of tasting tutorials coming in the right order for you guys. So no uploads for the next 2 weeks, but we will be seeing you Friday for a tutorial. We will have something for you. So stay tuned for that. And like I said, we're always at the shop. So if you have anything desperately, rocking your brain, or you have photos you want to sort of share with everybody, then feel free to continue to share them at the Etsy shop with us. We always have that link everywhere. So you can find it underneath every video, and usually in most of our community tab posts too. So anyway, that said, we'll see you guys Friday. Mr. Stitches, anything you want to add? He's still on Amazon. Nope.
I don't think so. If anyone has any questions.
I'm sure they can't even hear you. If anybody has any questions, you can leave a comment in the comment section down below, or pop into the Etsy shop. And what's the dinging? Is that just for you? That's just for you. Okay. We'll see you guys at the end of the week for a new video. Until then, stay cool and breezy, and have a great week. Bye, guys.